Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
Day of the Dead, which is actually 2 days. Day 1, November 1st, is Day of All Saints, and Day 2, November 2nd, is Day of All Souls.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy. I am Donna Reed. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Southern Arizona, and I work primarily in Tucson, Arizona. And this is my brother,
Eric Seemann. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Heritage in San Antonio, Texas.
We are here to reflect and reminisce on how our upbringing in the small rural village of Lindsey, Ohio, impacted our lives and our careers in real estate in now the Southwest. We are going to talk a little bit about the two houses that we lived in with our parents and our siblings, but then ultimately I lived in two more homes and houses in Lindsey. We each, relocated. You wound up in Texas, I wound up in Arizona, and that we have a lot of nostalgic conversation about what happened when we were kids, and we always know that we might wind up rambling.
We prove we're getting old, sis.
Yeah,
that's what we're
you're
doing.
right. You're right. So we start with the target, and then it goes how it goes. But we hope that what you learn is that we do have expert knowledge about our particular areas where we live and work. And we share some history, not only about our childhood, but about where we are now. And that you learn that we are experts in our local real estate market. So the last episode, Eric, what did we talk about last time?
Well, last episode was entirely lifestyle focused. And if you had a chance to listen, we were talking about autumn in the American Midwest and what happened in Ohio when we were growing up, which included Halloween, trick-or-treating, mischief night, raking leaves. We meant to talk about hayrides, and I don't think we got to hayrides.
We forgot hayrides, the church hayrides or the school hayrides.
But we went from hayrides, and Ken had a specific memory there, so we'll have to talk hayrides when we get into this. And then today, flash forward, that was so 20th century, and now we're 21st century. And what happens in San Antonio, Texas, and what happens in Tucson, Arizona, and how there's some similarities, but a lot of differences as the world has progressed.
In the last couple of episodes, we have tried to find some photos so that those of you who watch this online can see a little bit about what we're talking about. And maybe when our website is done, yay, our Real Siblings website, we'll share some of these images there for those of you that are visual people. So this time behind me, I have a picture of homes in Tucson where one of them is for sale, the one with the tree with the slanty, the lights. And in our last episode, Eric, we talked a lot about how everything was homemade and what it meant. We've joked about the names of these, and you and I talked so much about pumpkins. So we talked about naming this Fall Y'all, all things pumpkin. So I have my inflatable pumpkins, blow up pumpkins with the ghosts, and then that lit up. I'm guessing that's a pumpkin.
That's a pumpkin.
A great big orange something there.
It's the great pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Yeah. But for us, when we were kids, it was pumpkins and we carved pumpkins. And now, at least in Tucson, in some areas, it has become a massive decorating contest. And the inflatables are a huge, huge thing. Does that happen in San Antonio too?
It does. It does. More and more. I mean, the purple lights, the orange lights, the rope lights like you have in the tree behind you, giant spider webs, I think it's Home Depot, which puts out a 16-foot tall new Halloween decor item, which they've created a velvet rope. They only produce a certain number of them. There are people who watch for them to come out so they can grab them and put them up in their yard. And 16-foot tall witches, 16-foot tall ghosts, skeletons, things along those lines. Okay, so statistically, how much do you think the U.S. population is going to spend on Halloween this year?
Man, you're the numbers guy. I don't research that stuff. Tell me.
$10.6 billion is the expected spend for 2022 on Halloween.
That just gave me chills.
That's broken down. $3.6 billion for people's costume.
Okay.
Emphasize that. $1.2 billion on kids, $1.7 billion on adults. Where's the other costumes?
The pets.
That's it. Pet costumes. Yep, first. $0.7 billion. $700 million in pet costume.
Oh my Lord. What a world we live in.
$3.1 billion on candy, and the second biggest spend is $3.4 billion on decorations like what you have behind you.
Okay, and so then that brings us into like the all things pumpkin, and how you and I were just talking about how this even grew into the billions you just talked about. What do we think the billions are that are spent on flavored coffee?
On flavored coffee and everything else you get flavored at your grocery store now. Right, I don't know about you, but I think pretty certain I saw pumpkin flavored pre-pop popcorn the other day. Probably. And I mean, you've got pumpkin biscottes to go in your pumpkin coffee.
Oh, yeah. I bought 10 of those at Starbucks because they last until Girl Scout cookie season.
Pumpkin lattes, yep. Certainly one of them. I've even seen pumpkin flavored dog treats. Like your dogs are going, hey, it's October and November. I should be getting a pumpkin flavored treat at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's become a joke with my friends because for like 5 years, I've put pictures of what I buy when I go to the store, because I'm going to tell you, Trader Joe's also has a little mini ice cream cone that's 90 calories. That is pumpkin spice ice cream dipped in white chocolate. It is, mwah. I bought 5 boxes the first day.
It's actually ice cream. It's not like one of those little marshmallowy things. Like
no, it's ice cream. They're so good. So I fall into that. And there's been a joke about, my dating profile needs to say that must like pumpkin. In order to be considered in my world, because I love pumpkin. I love all things pumpkin. So even though I don't do this yard decorating thing, I certainly do my share of the buying of the products. What about you? Do you guys?
No, where we live, we don't have anybody who comes by the house. I decorate for one season, and that's Christmas. So it's coming. I have a couple of things that go out at Thanksgiving, some table toppers that Mom used to have, but I do not do those kind of things. Pumpkin carving is also something you don't do a lot of down here. You paint them.
Because of they rotting in the heat?
Because in the heat and the insects, they rot so fast. You want a horrific jack-o'-lantern, you can do it, because in 2 days you've got black mold and stuff growing out their mouth and things like that. So we have gotten to where we actually put pumpkins, if we have pumpkins, we save them, and then when the grandkids come out, specifically Brentley and Jameson, we have a Smashing Pumpkins Day. And we take the pumpkins and we smash them in our yard. And we'll do that after Thanksgiving. And the reason is because we have a lot of porcupines around here, and porcupines love pumpkin. So we can smash up all of these pumpkins, and within days, everything is gone but the stem, because the porcupines have cleared it all out.
So as I think about myself driving up to your house after turning off of 16 or whatever that road is there, I've seen porcupines, I've seen armadillo, I've seen deer, right? Going up to your place. So in Tucson, it's the javelina. And I didn't know that when I moved into my current home. So the first year, I've been here 8 years now, I carved my pumpkins, I put them out front. And the next morning, the only thing that was left was the stem. So for those of you that don't know, javelina they're in the peccary family, and they're really ugly, and they're all over the city. We'll talk about that more in the future. But like you, I don't even understand why the stores start selling the pumpkins when they do, because it's so hot that they must throw away a massive percentage, because
they're not pumpkins for cooking. And now, since you have all the designer pumpkins, we had orange pumpkins like the jack-o'-lanterns behind you. Now you've got your princess pumpkins, which have the round part, so you can do something that's more Cinderella-like. And you've got the white ones, and now they've got the ones that are grotesque, that have these green growths on the pumpkins. Those are just showing up this year. And again, it used to be, hey, we want a big pumpkin. That was it, right?
So we, besides pumpkins and that, you and I have also, as we talk about lifestyle and leisure in the Southwestern states, and not even just here anymore, but things that we grew up with that I thought about later was Indian corn, and how people would take 3 or 4 pieces of the colored corn and tie it and maybe put that on a door. And now there's fancy wreaths that people make that they get at whatever store they go to.
So my mind, you were saying Indian corn, which is beautiful and love to hang it in the colors, but I was picturing candy corn, and it's like, why is she bringing up candy corn?
No, not candy corn. That's a whole other discussion that either people are very thumbs up or thumbs down on, no. And so I realized that in the 22 years that I've lived in Tucson, I maybe have seen the colored corn only a couple of places, and I haven't thought about it. And I wonder, do javelina eat that? Like, I don't even know. If I hung that on my front gate, would some creature?
You're going to have big old nasty javelina paws up on your door, scratching up your door. They're so big, they're going to scratch up your door.
Yeah, I don't need that. But that's something that was kind of normal to have, and you would maybe get it at a fall market back at home. But have you seen the colored corn?
I think Hobby Lobby or like Michael's Craft Store
might
put out a couple, but it's not like what we used to have.
No,
certainly not. And of course, just as you've said it, and we've used the name, I'm going, can we even call it that anymore?
You're right. No, you're right.
In our PC world, you probably it can't be sold and marketed that way. It's colored corn.
Yeah, that's why I changed what I said, because I do not know, and I don't know. Yeah. So besides that, the other thing that you and I have talked about is the rise in the craze of corn mazes. Right? We have those here. And to be honest, October, like this year, October is beautiful. Some year, October is still crazy hot. But the corn mazes, when we were discussing this, we talked about would a farmer, when we were young, have purposely made a maze in their cornfield? Like, you and I were not farmers. We grew up with a lot of farmers, but I don't know. Would they have?
Well, and by this time in Ohio, you've got to be cutting it down to harvest it.
Right.
And most of our corn mazes are still green.
Yeah.
Or at least starting to move towards more of a end of season look. Our corn mazes are planted intentionally after the normal planting time for harvesting, so that you have greener, fresher stalks to use in the corn maze. So it's planted off cycle as if you were harvesting. And again, what farmer is going to take even 4 acres to dedicate to building some sort of elaborate maze that now, if you can fly a drone, and we both have a friend farmer back in Lindsey, Daryl, who is using a drone and getting some amazing drone videos.
He did one the other day of Jim Libstraw
harvesting, and it's like the dust storm.
Cool. Yeah, that was really neat.
It's hard to imagine that somebody's doing that, but then everything that goes with it. So then you have a small pumpkin patch, and you've got some game. Pumpkin trebuchets.
I don't even know what that is. A who?
It's a catapult, but I think it was the French term for a catapult. And you get the pumpkins, and you get to launch your pumpkin and see how far, and they have markers out there. And of course it hits and it explodes, and there's pumpkin guts everywhere.
So you can be a Viking pumpkin hurler.
That is it. That is it.
Like that.
And so one of the other things we talked about is that we talked in the last episode about raking leaves, and the dominant tree in Lindsey was maple trees. Leafy trees, deciduous trees, different from what we have down here in San Antonio, certainly different than we're a combination of coniferous and deciduous leafy trees with some cacti and succulents, but you guys in Arizona got to be much higher, especially down in Tucson, of cacti and succulents, and there's not a whole lot of leaf raking that goes with that.
No, the biggest thing that has happened, because we have had a good monsoon season, and actually we were told the other day that even though we've still had a lot of rain in October, it's past the monsoon season, which is a whole calculation that I am unaware of. I just know it has rained a lot, which means that like at Sabino Canyon and at Catalina State Park and some of the areas around where there are some waterfalls and stuff, that the sycamore trees, which line those water areas, those will change color. But what's funnier for me is that the Christmas decorations will be up and the leaves will be changing color. Like we've already gone through, Halloween and Thanksgiving. And then
right now we have a variety of elm that's starting to change colors. And if you go further into the hill country from where we're at, there's actually a variety of maple called a big tooth maple, which produces some color. And it does pretty well. I actually still plan on getting some to plant out at our property someday.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to dig a hole, and that takes a backhoe and a hoe ram and all kinds of special equipment, because you don't just take a shovel and go dig a hole.
What's interesting to me, just because of thinking about the drone video that Daryl did showing the dust in the field and all that, and because we had a French word, I have recently also seen that in some of the places in rural France, they'll take out a flatbed truck and set it up with a table for two and have a sunset dinner in a field towards the end of harvest, where partners, dates, spouses, whatever, will go and have a full meal. And I have thought how cool that would be here in Arizona, because the weather's beautiful for it.
Right.
And no matter where you live, there is the longer sunset shadows in the fall that don't exist in the early part of the year. So yeah, in another world, that's another activity I would like to do or start, but I don't have any of the things you need, like the field or the tractor or
Well, and okay, so we talked trick-or-treating and the fact that we went door to door, and now it's much less of a custom for people to go door to door.
Yeah.
Or kids to go door to door, even in the neighborhood that you know. Now, there's a few neighborhoods, but what is much more common, and again, it's kind of cycled through, you had mall treating, where the stores at the mall would hand out candy.
Yep.
And there'd be some extra people who might be in there and have stands or do something like that. But then the additional now is that so much goes to trunk or treat.
Yep.
Where the cars just pull in, and it's at a church, it's at a school, it's some sort of very controlled, what's considered to be safe environment.
Yeah.
Yep. Air quotes for both of us. Safe.
Safe.
As you trunk or treated. Somebody stayed at the car with the trunk, and the kids got to stay, but it was.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to bet that back in Lindsey, they do that. And I also am going to bet that they still trick or treat over the whole town, because it's a small town, right? And they still all know each other. We have neighborhoods that I'm going to just say Copper Creek. When Caleb was younger, he and his friends liked to trick or treat in Copper Creek because the houses were kind of close together. It was an area where there was a perception that they had more money and they gave out good candy. No different than any child anywhere.
That's
wanting to do some of that. But where I live in a townhome community of only 57 homes, and I'm one of the young people at age, never their mind.
Never their mind.
However, the truth is, except for one neighbor on my whole street who has a 3-year-old, there's very few kids in our subdivision. So even though we're not an active adult community, we lend ourselves, because we are townhouses with gated courtyards without big yards, we tend to have more seniors. I have gotten to where I don't pass out candy. Or if I do, I go somewhere else where I know there's going to be kids. So the neighborhood
I haven't had because I'm so remote, I haven't had a trick-or-treater. I may have my new neighbors' 2 youngest daughters come over, but I suspect they're going to take their kiddos someplace else.
You would have to be like a special stop.
It's like it really doesn't. You don't have to work hard when there's 3 houses on your street to get to all 3 houses.
Yeah.
During trick or treat.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So one of the other things that I had on here before we talk about Dia de los Muertos, is the rise in the theme parks. Now, again, because of where I'm at and because of where you're at, any kind of theme park is open much longer than it used to be up in the Midwest.
Right.
And had to look, our favorite amusement park when we were growing up, Cedar Point, is advertising that they are now in their 25th year of Hallows weekends. Here in San Antonio, we have a SeaWorld, and theirs is the kid-friendly Spooktacular, and at night it becomes almost entirely adult. Hallows Scream with all kinds of butchers and everything else running around, and it's Six Flags, it's Fright Fest.
Yeah, we have a couple of those.
Candy, horrors, scares.
Yeah. Oh, well, clearly there's no amusement park super close to us. So partially because in the summer when people are off, everything's so hot, that everything metal burns. But there's an old slaughterhouse that gets converted. And Old Tucson does a great fall event. And that tends to be weekends, not every day, of course, just everything else. So Old Tucson will do that. So everybody has their things. But one other thing we mentioned, remember we talked about sunflower fields, right?
Yes.
How sunflowers have become a thing everywhere that they can possibly grow, it feels like. So I don't know that people are making money off of sunflower seeds and selling them. But I believe that those farmers are making money off of the people that come that do their photos there, or I don't know, because again,
the ones that are taking down and making paths and putting furniture settings out in the middle of a sunflower field. So all you need to do is come out, and timing wise with sunflowers, it's senior pictures, right? They're doing some of those.
Yeah. And that's something that we have both seen back in Lindsey. I don't remember whose farm that is. I'll have to look that up. It's happening back there, and fall pictures are being taken. So the whole idea that people get a lot of fall photos taken, family photos, they'll be in the leaves, and maybe that's because they're getting ready for Christmas. So they're going to get their pictures, but it's not limited to one part of the country. It's all over everywhere, with what they're doing.
So again, we would be remiss, because I know it's something that I was exposed to once I moved down to San Antonio, was Día de los Muertos. Day of the Dead, which is actually 2 days. Day 1, November 1st, is Day of All Saints, and day 2, November 2nd, is Day of All Souls. Mm-hmm. And the creation of the ofrendes and the elaborate painting and faces that go on. And when you do the ofrende or altar, when the souls are coming back to visit their living relatives, one of the things that's included in that is what I have in my picture here of the Mexican market, which is I'll probably going to butcher the pronunciation here, Pepo Picado.
Pepo Picado, okay. I don't know what that
P-A-E-L Picado, which is the tissue paper cutouts, and they're there because the ofrende was supposed to have all 4 elements, and food was considered to be earth. They put out a glass of water for water. They would put up the papel picados for wind. And then the last one that they had as the element would have been fire. And they put out candles or votive lights to represent the 4 elements.
And marigolds. Marigolds were the flower.
Marigolds are the official flower. That's right. Yeah. And then here we get additional, they put out the ceramic skulls or sugar skulls.
Sugar skulls.
And always salt. There's going to be salt on the altar of the ofrende. But it extends going from European tradition, which is where Halloween develops, and All Hallows Eve, and carries that forward in a blending with the Mexican culture, because the origins go all the way back 3,000 plus years. They're saying Aztec, Toltecs, Maya, we're all had different things related to this in and about that time. So the fact that you now have a holiday that starts on the 30th or the 31st and carries through the 1st and the 2nd, you got 3 days of partying and celebration and everything that goes along with it.
What Disney movie made that? I think it was Disney, maybe it was Pixar that made.
Actually, there were 2 movies. One of them is Disney's Coco. But you know what? I found out as I was doing research on it, that before that, they actually made a short movie cartoon just called Día de los Muertos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was a short, and then the other is Book of Life.
Oh, interesting. Well, you know that when we were kids, nobody dressed up or painted their faces like the Day of the Dead. And Coco certainly brought that whole piece to the forefront. And I have to tell you, because it's the first that when you said All Saints Day, that's also something that our churches, we celebrate. That's when we remember those that have gone before us. So the whole trick or treat, Halloween, pumpkins, ghosts, all of that, the Day of the Dead and the celebration of All Saints, I love the ideas that are brought forth in that. And I don't know if you remember this, but when Caleb was in Up With People, he was in Mexico over Halloween weekend. And actually,
no, I didn't know that.
They went with a family to the cemetery. And for him, that was one of those cultural interaction things that those of us who are European that didn't grow up with that can't imagine going to a cemetery and having a party and celebrating the lives of those that went before us. But what a great custom, right? So many terms for it, right? The Halloween we do trick or treat, we talk about pumpkins, we talk about Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, the parades. There's a lot of things wrapped up in this holiday that somebody somewhere made famous and expanded and just bring something to our life. So
as we look ahead towards next episodes and next month, that's going to be more Thanksgiving centric. And of course, in discussion of that, I had to put it in there. For us in the Midwest, that also meant OSU and U of M, Michigan, Ohio State football games. That's just part of what goes on. But the first frost, which meant maple sap and all of those things that'll be coming in the next episode.
Good.
Any final thoughts here before I bring this one to a close?
I think we've talked through it and hopefully people have learned a little bit about where we live and work right now in real estate, So.
Yep, because that's our goal. And again, we want to thank you all for listening. Joining us is our stroll and walk down memory lane. We've reminisced, reflect on life in Lindsey, Ohio, and today more so on our markets in Tucson, Arizona and San Antonio, Texas. Remember, we're both realtors with Keller Williams, and we're here if you're looking in our area to help you find that perfect property so you can create lasting memories. If you're not here in our markets and you're somewhere around the United States or around the globe, we have an extensive network of real estate advisors and be happy to connect you. And until next time, remember, it may be simple, but it ain't always easy. And I'm Eric.
And I'm Donna.
And we are Real Siblings.
Yay!
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Sibling. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.